This problem says use the remainder theorem to determine if 6 plus I is a zero of the given polynomial. And that polynomial is g of x equals x cubed minus 11x squared plus 25x plus 37. Now remember, the remainder theorem says that if I divide a polynomial by a possible zero, and in this case, our possible zero is 6 plus I. So when I divide g of x by 6 plus I, if I get a remainder of 0, that means that 6 plus I is a zero of g of x. So let's do the division. So you can see I've set this up to synthetically divide the polynomial by 6 plus I. The first step in synthetic division is to bring down the leading coefficient. In this case, it's 1. Now we're going to multiply 6 plus I, the divisor, by 1. Well, 6 plus I times 1 is just 6 plus I. Now we need to add negative 11 and 6 plus I. Well, when we add a number that doesn't contain an imaginary part to a complex number that does contain an imaginary part, remember, we just add the real number parts and the imaginary number parts. So in this case, we would just add negative 11 plus 6, which is negative 5. And we would still have plus I, because there's nothing to combine with the imaginary part of 6 plus I with negative 11. Now we have to multiply 6 plus I times negative 5 plus I. And let's do that over here on the left. 6 times negative 5 is negative 30. 6 times I is 6I. Negative 5 times I is minus 5I. And I times I is I squared. Now let's simplify this and combine like terms. We can combine the 6I minus 5I into plus I, and we still have plus I squared. But remember, I squared is just negative 1. So we have negative 30 plus I, and the I squared is a minus 1, which gives us negative 31 plus I. Negative 31 plus I goes here. And again, we add. So we have 25 minus 31 plus I. 25 minus 31 is minus 6, and we still have a plus I. And now we must multiply 6 plus I times negative 6 plus I. And let's do that down below here. 6 times negative 6 is negative 36, and 6 times I is 6I. Negative 6 times I is negative 6I, so those two terms add out. And then, of course, I plus I is I squared, which again is just negative 1. So when we simplify, we get negative 37. And the negative 37 goes there. 37 minus 37 is 0. That is our remainder. So because we have a remainder of 0, we can confidently say that 6 plus I is definitely a zero of this polynomial.